2047, India will be a 100-year-old democracy. It's already one of the top economies of the world, powered by its people, a billion strong. But what should be the focus when it comes to prosperity, to inclusive growth, and which is integrated with social progress? What should be our priorities? What should be our policies? Welcome to ET India Rising, powered by Visa, a series of conversations with 12 of India's most influential corporate and policy leaders who will set the agenda for India at 100. I'm Miloni Bhatt, and today I'm joined by Mr. T Koshy, who is the CEO and MD of ONDC, or the Open Network for Digital Commerce, a man whom many say is ushering in a revolution that will completely transform e-commerce. Mr. Koshy, thank you so very much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
All right, I'd like to begin first with the genesis of ONDC. If you can tell us, how did it actually begin and how did you come to be involved with it?
There have been two big triggers. First trigger as the onset of pandemic. And at that point of time, Ministry of Commerce headed by Honorable Minister Piyush Goyal discussed with the team in DPIIT with Mr. Anil Agarwal as in charge, said that we need to find a solution to give access to neighborhood stores to the customers around. So they said, shall we develop some IT solution? And digital could be the only answer because everybody is going digital. And when they sat down and discussed, they said that if you try to create another app, it is going to be restrictive because the current app also have buyer has to be in that platform, seller has to be in that, all kinds of problems. So he said, can we think something really transformative? So they created a committee, steering committee with people from private sector and of course the ministry people. We have people like Adil Zainulbhai and Anjali Bansal and so on and so forth. So at the same time, there was another development happening in other part of our country, which is a set of geeks who had been working on many of the open source solutions, had been working of an idea of an open source protocol to enable any kind of transaction, which they call the beacon protocol, and open source. I mean, it is started from India, developed mostly by Indians, but it's a community open source one. So when this steering committee sat together and looked at it and said, hey, this is a very interesting proposition. We can really use this as a foundation to really transform the way the commerce is done. Because today commerce is highly restrictive, concentrated in the hands of few people, not just India, anywhere in the world. So this seems to be an opportunity to make it happen. So they enhanced the steering committee to have advisory council, brought in people like Dr. R. Sharma, Nandan Nilagiri and so on and so forth, and said, now let's try to shape this idea as the open network for digital commerce. So while that was happening, because of the way I was involved in UIDI and multiple large digital transformation projects for the past 25 years, they said, can you come and get involved in that? And there again, when those people were working on the protocol, to some extent I was a resource person, so I knew exactly how it worked. So I had started writing about it and so on and so forth. So I was brought in as a team, and then the rest is history.
All right. You mentioned that you were part of Aadhaar, the Vaccine Intelligence Network, CoWIN, GST and NSDL. How have all of these experiences shaped what you do at ONDC?
It's been, like I said, for the past 25 years, it has been a journey of being involved at multiple levels and multiple positions in transforming digital economy in a way, broadly. So some of the things that I found as really the winning aspects of multiple projects where I had a chance to get involved. One was the idea is very simple, simple, transparent and relevant to a broad cross-section of entities and individuals. It means it truly drives ecosystem development. If you look at what's happening in ONDC, this is meaningful to everybody. There's practically hardly anybody for whom it doesn't make sense. Government, it addresses two of their large priorities, digital economy and empowerment of the small and medium enterprises. Broad-based participation in digital economy, it does well. For the bankers, telcos, etc., who have large number of digital commerce, who could not extend, they have digital consumers, but they could not extend digital commerce because they had no captive sellers. So for them, it's an opportunity to offer more services. If you look at the industry, they had only few options to be in digital commerce. One or two entities who drive in a certain fashion. There's nothing wrong. They're doing a fantastic job. But they have their rules of the game. And their large cross-section are not comfortable, are not ready to be in the It's like saying in a hotel industry, 5-star hotel, 3-star hotel, 2-star hotel. What we have in the digital commerce today is 5-star. And that's why you see the seller participation is less than 1%. Now, in the idea of open network for digital commerce, as we will discuss more, is that it is giving equal opportunity to everybody. So that way it becomes an ecosystem play. And the third thing that is very important is that while it's a new idea, there has been a lot of effort in evangelization. And when this is relevant for a broad cross-section of people, whether it is bankers, telcos, industry, all of them, they all become your co-collaborators and co-conspirators, because winning of this is to everybody's benefit. When you have a solution that is going to help a large cross-section of people to win, and very small cross-section people who are not comfortable, but not really bad for them, then you get a certain, you are able to inflame the passions of a broad cross-section. Then you have to be patient. You understand when you do a transformation program of this nature, it takes some time. It is not abracadabra overnight. So you need to sort of nurture, provide tools, technique, learning, examples, tool, all of them, so that they will all build on it and take advantage. One day it reaches a threshold. You saw what happens in Aadhaar. You saw what happened in old-time DMAT. You saw what happened in COVID. You saw what happened in UPI. I remember being a part of a discussion like this, 5-6 years ago, where some of the very prominent people in the financial sector said, Koshy, this is not going to happen. And I was there in a part.
UPI?
It was on a discussion on UPI, about one of the top people in the industry. That time we said, what is this going to happen? Today we are doing about 250 million transactions a month. In another 3 years it will double. I mean, they could not think beyond. But today, another 6 years, it is 250 million has become 7 billion. So that's a kind of impact that we're talking about.
I want to speak now about the wider canvas. Nandan Nilekani, who's often called the CTO of India, he says that India is a leader in digital transformation at population scale and has been doing it for a decade. He refers to Aadhaar, which he says is foundational technology, linked with Jan Dhan accounts. We run the largest direct benefit transfer system in the world. He speaks of UPI, which is the Unified Payments Interface, and now he says ONDC will be the game changer. Highlight for us the mega trends that you see playing out as far as e-commerce is concerned, and how will that increase the adoption of ONDC?
There's an extremely strong startup ecosystem who is looking for opportunities to really innovate and not limit their innovation to only few pockets, being restricted because their innovations can find scale only if they are part of somebody else, or they sell it to somebody else. But now they are all looking for opportunity. Some people want to have a $1 trillion success. Some people want to have a few $1 million success. But everybody should have the equal opportunity to succeed based on what they have to offer, not because of they have some captive control that they have. And that is already there. That's in ONDC so supporting, and the starting ecosystem will learn. And finally, in all this transaction, look at two more dimensions of it. One is, like you said, payment. And UPI has reached such prevalence, and practically banking penetration is 85-90%, which means that everybody is comfortable with digital transaction. And UPI made it even 10 rupee, even the small vendor is willing to take a digital transaction. So it's easy for them. Otherwise, when they come to e-commerce, hey, how do I settle? How do I get money? Cash on delivery, all kinds of stuff. Now everybody is comfortable. Even the smallest of the buyer, the street vendor is willing to take digital currency. So because of all these things coming together, and the bankers are looking ways to extend their credit to a broader cross section. Today, if you really look at, mostly lending is against asset. We are thinking about flow-based lending. That's why we have AA coming in, OCEN coming in. But look at who's going to create all the flow in a digitally verifiable form. It is going to be ONDC. So in that way, ONDC is going to be a foundation on which AA and OCEN and bankers, all of them together, can really give exploding growth possibilities for the industry and for innovation. And that is why we say that it is like all the stars come together, aligned, and ONDC is now becoming like the true trigger to empower each of them and help the citizens and the industry at large to benefit from each of them in a much more powerful fashion.
ONDC aims to increase e-commerce penetration in India by 25% over the next 2 or 3 years from the current 8%, for a population of 1.35 billion people. And you've often said that, your vision is essentially to reach to the sellers in the remotest part of the country. But, what are the challenges that you foresee, as you go about doing this? Maybe challenges in terms of awareness creation, implementing ONDC, helping these businesses reach scale?
Very, very valid point. See, like I said, the open network provides equal opportunity to everybody. But everybody is not equally capable. So there are some people with handicap. So while in a strict sense, ONDC's job was only to create a protocol and let everybody take advantage of it, we believe with the support of a variety of policymakers and government officials and philanthropic agencies and developmental agencies and banks, etc., find solutions to help the small and medium enterprises who may not be equally digitally capable to take advantage in the fastest way. So if you really ask me what are the big challenges for us, first challenge that we will work is to make sure that there is a certain level of participation to reach a threshold volume to everybody feel excited. Now everybody is excited about the idea. Now they want to feel excited about certain levels of things. So we need to work with the early adopters who are digitally mature to bring them on board to see the level of activity. That's what we are starting. At the same time, we have to have a lot of initiative to help this digitally challenged entities to be digitally powerful in a very short fashion. So that's why we have very conscious strategy working with SIDBI, working with NABARD, working with Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises, working with MEITI and working with CSE, a variety of enterprises who can work on helping, like for example, digital education with a focus. So one big advantage, normally when you talk about digital literacy, for what? Efficiency, communication, good ideas, very useful. Now actually one of the things that really triggered was actually financial transaction, because it was affecting your day-to-day business. They realized I can get my money fast. Now the next one is about enhancing the market access. That is truly a driver, because you're talking about everybody is trying to improve their business. What you're doing. And they say that everything is coming along with that, but I'm going to first attack the challenge of enhanced market access. And that is going to be a major influencer in this transformation.
Customers look for trusted merchants. Merchants look for trusted customers. So what is the mechanism that ONDC will employ, to build confidence between both merchants and consumers when it comes to building trust?
So I have to give a long-winded answer, because it's a very important question there in everybody's mind. Some of the obvious things are not even relevant, because we have been used to thinking in a certain fashion. Again, I'll draw two examples quickly. One, imagine that in a country, in a hotel, there are only 5-star hotels. You go to a 5-star hotel, ask for a coffee, they'll charge you 500 rupees. If you don't like this show like this, they will change the coffee, which is fine. If you go to a dabba wala, he will say that देखो 25 रुपए के लिए ये मिलेगा, चाहे तो आप ले लीजिए. But thing is, imagine the country had only 5-star hotels. Every thinking is like that. Because the moment you should say that coffee should be changed, that's not, because there are different set of customers who have different expectation of quality and SLA. So a market is where everybody can coexist and find a balance. Same thing happened when it comes to financial transaction. We had digital transaction, like I said, 250 million transaction every month. It was meant for a certain type of customers who could go to certain kind of stores to buy certain kind of goods and to make certain kind of payment by this merchant. UPI just changed the equation. So that is what we have to do here. Let's take an example of what happens in a current form of digital commerce. The same platform has a buyer and the seller with them. Okay, seller is tied up with the buyer, with a platform based on a contract. And the contract can, because it's a published contract, ab initio discuss, say that, if my customers don't like, I'm going to, either you replace or I'm going to give the money back. Then the seller has no other option but to agree with it. Otherwise, don't be in the market. And now let's say I go to a buying application and say that I bought it and I don't like it. And the application will send information digitally to the seller and say, please replace it. If it doesn't replace it, I'm going to give the money back. So he has a control of money. He has a control of a contract. And only such people will come together. Same thing is possible even in ONDC. Only thing that is not the only possibility. Let me explain. Let's take the case a very privileged buyer application. Like as you know in ONDC you are unbundling buyer and seller application. A very privileged buyer application. And that privileged buyer application is that I am talking to this elite 5-star customers. Okay. So they'll, let's say let's assume that I am one of them. I go and say that I want to buy a shirt. Okay, he say okay, take the money. And he will broadcast an interest saying that, you know, I have a set of customers who will reject if they don't like it within 30 days. If you don't like it, you have to replace it or I'll give the money back. Because he has the money in his hand. Because he said, that's my condition, only prepaid, otherwise I don't take money. And I will give the money only after customer is satisfied. It works pretty well. Beauty here is, he is not forcing any seller to respond to that. Only sellers who are willing to accept this terms of trade will respond. Others won't.
Multiple permutation combinations are possible.
Possible. There could be somebody else who is running a discount store. It says no returns. But I'll give you at half the price. So like in the physical market, multiple permutations, combinations are possible with respect to products, SLAs and services. Last but not the least, what will ONDC do? We are talking about the market. So ONDC, like he said, is an orchestrator. We are expected to bring certain discipline in this community. We are not policy makers. We are not the lawmakers. That's all done by the enforcers, the government and the relevant ministries. We are saying we are running a community. In that community, there are certain rules. Look at the Resident Welfare Association. Look at the club. They have certain rules and regulations which has to work within the legal framework, but you can enforce that because you have agreed to come. So how does it work? First, let's say you want to be a buying platform or a selling platform. First, you will have to come and present your interest. Then we'll do a certain minimum due diligence. Do you exist? Do you have an address? Can you just vanish to thin air? Okay, no, you are not that variety. You are an established business you want to do. Second thing is, please sign an agreement which is common to all the network partners. It's open, transparent, non-negotiated. Whether you are a large bank or a large multinational firms like Unilever or a small startup, you will all sign the same agreement. We say that we all agree to the road. It's like saying that I will drive on the left side of the road. Okay, so they have to agree, and it also says that network policies, which is the way the traffic rules of the community, as and when involved, it form a part of the agreement. So he's already signing on the first day, say that I believe in the good wishes of this community and we will live and behave accordingly. And then he has to show that his application is certified for the ONDC protocol. So we'll get it certified. That means we will be able to make sure that the discipline is significantly software enabled, so that it is not somebody has to go and look at the paper and evaluate. It's all digitally verifiable and trackable. Third is there are some common things which will strengthen this community. One is a network-wide reputation or rating. Today, if I am a part of a platform, everything about me is only in that one. The moment I decide to leave, I have nothing else. What we are saying is let everybody have the same opportunity. So we are going to have a network-wide reputation, which is going to be public. Third is, let's say your performance is continuously being tracked. How many agreements you had? How many became a dispute? How many got resolved? All of them going to be publicly available. So now the consumers will have all the visibility of that. Now think like you are not a behemoth platform, whether you are a buying side or a selling side. Buying side, you have no loyalty to any sellers. Where is your loyalty? Your loyalty is to the buyer. Because the sellers directly give you anything, you don't even know which sellers are. If the buyer wants mobile phone, he'll search for mobile phone. If he wants atta, he'll search for atta. So where is his loyalty? His buyers. So if the buyers have some comment, he wants to make sure that it is immediately sent to the seller and do all the follow-up that is needed. Because he said these guys will follow up and get it done. And then all this gets published. Now you think like a seller in a selling platform. You don't have any big captive buyers with you. So what will happen? You have to make sure that you have a reputation. That's why I'm saying it is a self-correcting model. So I'm just giving you the big picture. And as you're probably aware that we developed all these policies with extensive consultation. With the market players, with the industry, with the bankers, with the risk manager and all of them. And it is based on that this policy got evolved, and we actually got a number of large enterprises to sign on a dotted line on this network policy. It means that they believe in it. So they are the best critic because it is affecting their business. Then, as you may be aware, that after having reached certain maturity in our thinking, we publish to the whole world. As you are aware, it is out there for feedback. We are getting good feedback. And so this is how it is going to be built. The key thing you have to understand, this is going to be an open marketplace with different kinds of segments of people will work together, and it is self-correcting. The very model encourages self-correction.
Dispute redressals. How will ONDC tackle it? Tackle it in a way that maybe disputes, are limited.
Yeah. So here again, multiple things. Like I said, we are not the lawmakers. We have to work within the law. And the lawmakers have not made any separate laws for ONDC. It's applicable for every e-commerce application. Now, let's say that how does it work? Is that if you have a complaint can go to a buyer application, because buyers know only the buyer application. And the buyer application protocol provides for taking this feedback, whatever is a complaint, and transforming immediately to the seller. And the seller, under the e-commerce rule, has to immediately acknowledge that with a unique number and has to respond back within certain period of time and resolve it or dispute it. And the beauty is that, look at two things I said. For the seller, there is no captive buyers. So he has a natural tendency, if he wants to be in the business, to resolve it. Because this is not a flea market. He's there for a long term. If he doesn't resolve, it can become a dispute. So then what we have done is, to address this question, we have also, like you would have seen the ODR guidelines from Niti Aayog and what RBI, etc. We have also adopted from them and created an ODR framework. And we are going to probably in the next few months' time, going to have multiple ODR agencies providing this service. The advantage is everything is digitally trackable. What you asked for, trackable. What they offer, trackable. What has been, when was it paid, trackable. When was delivered, trackable. If there is a complaint, photograph can be taken and sent. Everything it become heavily trackable. And based on that, a lot of these problems get resolved. And there is a natural inclination for everybody to resolve it. If they cannot, like you said, dispute. And that dispute have like the ODR mechanism. And finally, they of course have the right to go to the legal system. But we believe all these things together will help, one, reduce the probability of grievance becoming dispute. Second is, if the dispute happen, it getting resolved faster through a channel which is again digital. And so reduce probability and reduce the numbers.
But most of these small businesses, do you think they have the discipline when it comes to updating inventory, updating their catalogs? Do you think there is a behavioral shift that is needed for them, to take hold of this opportunity?
The neighborhood shop want to be digitally visible for his set of people. He has no ambition to be global. He has ambition only to be around. Can we empower them? So that's why we are trying to develop a lot of solutions to help them. And there again, we are telling them, boss, you don't have to worry about buyer onboarding. Because if you look at any person's the biggest challenge, for example, even let's say somebody like CDB or Ministry of Agriculture, they all try to digitize their suppliers. Where is the challenge? Where will I get the buyer from? That is a huge expense. Yeah. Now that's not an expense. Buyers are there for. Let's say if Kotak Bank or IDFC or SBI or Axis or Yes bring their, today, since they have no incentive to promote a particular product. For example, if they had, let's say that XYZ buying application has a tie-up with a shirt manufacturer, let's say Lacoste. He has all the reason to encourage Lacoste because Lacoste will have a larger advertising budget. Whereas now, he wants to find that Koshy, who is a Malayali, tell him during Onam, hey, let us try to find out a special Onam kurta for you from Kerala and search it out. I don't have to worry from where it's coming from. So the buying agent and the buyer platforms have an incentive to bring more buyers, encourage them to experiment, not shape their mind to buy only for the customer from Jammu and Kashmir to Kerala should not only wear Lacoste t-shirt. It's nice t-shirt, I wear that. But that should not be the only one everybody wears. For Onam, I should pick up a jubba from Kerala. So the buying application now has incentive. That's why you will see innovations from the buying side to help the buyer to be a more smart buyer, encourage his sensibilities and his culture, and help them to explain and express his culture and take advantage of the wide variety of choices that he has across the country, not based on their advertising budget, but because somebody want to go and search out and find out. And they're all there anyway.
Right. E-commerce accounts for 50% of all digital payments. Given that ONDC will serve as a platform which will go beyond the reach of an Amazon or a Flipkart and enable the ONDC ecosystem partners give them opportunities to tap into new markets. Give us a sense of the potential that ONDC has in democratizing the financialization of Bharat.
Okay, couple of things. One correction, ONDC is not a platform. We are a network.
Network, yes.
We enable multiple platforms to interact together. Now in these multiple platforms, like I said, some of them might be meeting requirement of elite, like you and me and all sitting around. Or some of them will be working towards the Bharat. For example, if I just give an example, one of our investors, is Citizen Service Center. And they're also developing a buyer platform and a seller platform. Just taking a very, and when they become ready and they are actually undergoing testing and so on and so forth, he said now think like when they create a buying platform, they look at their kind of customers, the kind of product they are interested, the kind of question they will have. Maybe you would see a lot of innovation happening around industry, even people developing Indic language support, not that is there in the first day, okay, whether it is in audio or in text and so on and so forth, and looking for products which are relevant for them. Similarly, when they look at as a seller platform, they will look at how do you encourage artisans and the local products, etc., and help them to package them properly and service them properly and so on and so forth. So it is going to be a journey. If you ask me whether everybody will be there first day, no. It's going to be a long and arduous journey with different kind of people adopting a different set of time. But the beauty is everybody sees an economic relevance. Whether it is the ministries, whether it is the developmental organizations, or whether it is philanthropic organization, or whether it is startup. For everyone, there is an economically valuable and sustainable option. And that is why we are hoping and believing that you will see a large ecosystem participation for developing solutions. Like I said, if you want to create a plain HTML page or ready-made, like something like a WordPress, equivalent to that, all those things will get evolved.
The government is formulating or coming out with an e-commerce policy, and they said they want to do it once ONDC kind of gets stabilized. What are you looking forward to in this proposed e-commerce policy, which could impact the Indian e-commerce market and, help in ease of doing business, bringing innovation, even bringing in FDI into the sector?
See, some of the very large policy level things are being evaluated by the policymakers. I don't want to go and put my nose there. But the point that is there is that one of the constraints under which they were operating, the policymakers were operating, were the constraints of digital concentration. In fact, that's nothing to do with India. That's happening everywhere in the world. Probably you are aware that many countries in the world are trying to look at policies to address the issues of concentration and related practices. Americans are trying to do America Innovation and Online Choice Act, which did not get passed this time. I think it's getting extended for whatever reason. Europeans are looking Digital Market Access Act. All of them is trying to access. So this was the same challenge that India also has. So if I look from an ONDC point of view, one of the biggest confidence that the government will have if ONDC build up certain momentum, it is a way of using technology and market to address the issue of market concentration, lack of competition and associated practices. So in this context, that's why I don't think they're trying to look at anything special for ONDC. They're saying that in this transformed paradigm, which has not been experimented anywhere in the world, they'll be able to rather experiment a lot more and encourage a more wider participation. Because it's giving everybody equal opportunity. Earlier it was all about how do I control this problem. Here now their focus can be a lot on how to enable. And otherwise we are equally under like any other ecosystem.
Mr. Koshy, this is now amongst my last questions to you. 5 years from now, paint us a picture of how do you think ONDC would have evolved, in terms of convenience. It could be in terms of fair competition, in terms of creating jobs, democratizing opportunity, something that you've spoken about, and even in case of setting up the blueprint for e-commerce for the rest of the world.
Whenever somebody decides to set up a business or do any business, private, individual, etc., they immediately think about, let me have a portal. I'm not talking about e-commerce, portal, information dissemination. And if you are a brand manager, it is one of the channels of communication. It is under your control. You decide what should be there, how should be presented, all of them. Whereas come to digital commerce, when it comes to commerce, today, let's say any brand manager, first and foremost, to be a part of the digital commerce, there's a lot of conditionalities attached to specialized platforms. that itself, that is meant for certain segment, and there's nothing right and wrong. It's certain segmentation. Whereas tomorrow in the ONDC environment, it will become just another extension of the marketing strategy. Whereas today, if I am a brand manager of let's say XYZ Church, everything with respect to my pricing, my discounts, my advertisement, everything is decided by me as a brand manager. Except in e-commerce. There I have to significantly toe the lines of somebody decided by some few platforms. When that become irrelevant, that's why I will say e-commerce as is in practice today will become irrelevant. It will become an extension of the brand manager's strategy of one more channel. So my dream is that in our country, or probably it will become a benchmark for the world, if the ONDC model succeeds, which I believe will, anybody who has a product or service to sell will make it digitally visible to an open network, which different kinds of buying platform based on which kind of buyers they are representing will try to help them. So it will become just an exchange, it's an addition. It's nothing unique, it is not an e-commerce, very specialized segment can be done by anybody. Everybody will decide, it will become a natural extended channel, like in the case of web portal that we saw.
Mr. Koshy, my last question to you. Prime Minister Modi earlier this year said that New India is scaling new dimensions and leaving its mark on the whole world. Now, he's often spoken about his vision of New India. With Aadhaar, UPI, now ONDC and 5G, New India is clearly digital India, one that is far ahead of many global economies when it comes to innovations, when it comes to transformational technologies. What are your views on some of these tech-enabled innovations and the opportunities that exist for India, and your thoughts on India at 100?
Couple of points I want to say. One is, we are very digitally strong, digitally established ourselves. Somebody will ask you, why is that there is no Google here and no Microsoft here? Product-focused companies. We have done, we have Infosys, we have TCS, we have Wipro and all of the service-based ones. But one thing that we are often not recognizing, that we have created large public goods, which what you just said, Aadhaar, UPI, all of them, on which multiple businesses can thrive and process and expand, without those foundation builders enriching themselves or their limited shareholders, which is a very different message that we are shown. So on that, it is not 2 trillionaires, multiple billionaires, multiple millionaires, an empowered economy is going to survive. That is a big demonstration that we have made. So what we said that with the public and private participation, we are creating the foundation on which everybody can grow, not just some few enterprises, which all over the world, like I said, is trying now to limit, to control by regulation and so on and so forth. We don't have to do that. And like I pointed out earlier, this is a global problem. When we started UPI, when we started Aadhaar, it was that we were trying to solve a developing country problem. Although the solution we developed is far outstripping any of the developed country solutions, but it was originally a developing country problem. They said, okay, Indians are trying something because their financial inclusion is so low, banking penetration is so low, let them do something. The UPI was seen that way because we had a banking penetration of 18%. Whereas when it comes to digital commerce, everybody has a problem. So we have reached a level where we have embarked on a journey where we are the pioneers in this planet, not in this country. And that is making a message, and that's why there's a global attention of how we will succeed and when we will succeed. And that way, so that is, I think, helping India to take a pole position in terms of their innovation, which they have shown in many ways. Like we said, UPI has been a big success, everybody accepted. But here is saying that we are being a pioneer to a problem for which none of us have found a solution. Let us all work on it together. And as you said, it's an open source one. Give us credit, give India the credit and work with us and take it everywhere in the world.
Build on it, an inclusive solution to a very global problem, and something pioneered by India. With that, Mr. Koshy, thank you very much for being a part of this show, ET India Rising. As you say, ONDC is essentially a network that we're building, not just for India, an inclusive network in which the world can participate. We wish you all the best. Thank you so very much for your time and for your thoughts today.